to another video. I have been lazy lately. This video, I'm just going to show you that I'm making a canopy for my old man. Yeah, that's what I'm standing inside at the moment. I basically got those bits of 50 by 50 R8 rolled up at a different engineering joint. That's how I got them rolled, and I did that because I wanted a nice profile to suit the roof of the car instead of doing a miter joint which had a sharp angle. So I've done that and then just put some runners across here. Yeah, now I'm just up to, I've just used some 25 by 25 equal angle just to make the weather strip weatherproofing, and the door will sit like that, and then there'll be a bit of pinch weld on top of there. Obviously I'll weld up them and clean them up, but you won't see it anyway. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot to it, but I've never done a ute canopy before, so there's probably a million better ways, but this is how I'm doing it. In this clip, I'm just getting the actual size of the door opening. I've used a 30-meter tape because they're really flexible, which was quite handy around the pieces that were round and to get that proper sizing. Yeah, something I learned a while ago. I just worked at a place and we did a few electrical cabinets, and if you make the profile like that, then all you have to do for your door is measure the outside dimensions, which you just saw me doing. Add 10 mil to the lot. If you're pretty safe, you can go 15, and then you've got room to play when you install them, and that's pretty much, yeah, all there is. I could have done it where there was a flat surface for the door to mount onto with the rubber, but I'm going to stick with what I know. So we'll make them doors now. The fold-ups reliefs, just mark, like I've just decided to do 20 mil from both edges, notch that out with the grinder, and then when you fold up both edges to 90 degrees, they'll meet up where you can do a nice weld to seal it off. This is setting up the press in the small V block so that it's a nice tight fold, even though it was right after this moment that I decided to make my doors out of aluminium. But anyway, I didn't record that, so you can watch this one. Alright, well that's where it starts to bend, plus 5 mil clearance. So I've just got a 90-degree line marked out, and angle that we want is 20 degrees. So we'll split that in half. So the first line we'll mark, to cut our wedge out, we'll split 20 degrees past 90. So we'll set that at 80, if you can see. Focus, yep. Okay, so 80. And then for the other side, we're going to go 10 above 90. We'll set that there, like that. Now that is our wedge, our clearance. We'll cut those lines. They're a bit rough, I know, but we'll cut those out. They will cut out. And then that'll be the clearance, so that when we fold the door, it'll be at the right angle when the two edges touch again, give or take a bit. So we'll just try that and see how we go, and then we'll move on to the radius up the top, which will be more slits than just one wedge because it's more of a radius than one angle. Couldn't do the final fold in the press brake or the pan brake because our press brake doesn't have the removable dividable blade, and the pan brake is 1200 long, but that's not to worry. Just got a piece of that's the same length, clamped it to the bench, and that should fold up, and tack weld that gap when it closes, put it up against the canopy. I feel like that was probably a pretty dodgy thing to do, but when in Rome. So I've pushed from the middle because if I just did it on the edges, it wouldn't even be bent in the middle. So I made sure that I pushed from the middle so that it bent there before the edges. And so before we tack it, I'll just fit it up.
So as soon as those lips were folded, I'm just tapping here to make sure both the edges are aligned, ready for
MIG welding. I'm using the LE MIG. It's a alloy pulse MIG from Lincoln. It sounds like a bit of a fart cannon on a chainsaw on fart steroids, but yeah, it's a bit of a dirtier process than TIG welding, but it's a lot quicker and easier to get tacks down without having to clean the material and get it all perfectly set up. So yeah, after the main fold was done, it was time to get the curve happening on the top of the door where it's supposed to match in with the roof line. So pretty much, I didn't have a press that I could remove the teeth out of to get in between the folds. So I just got a piece of pipe, I think it was like 70 mil roughly in diameter, tacked that to the bench and spent about 20 minutes on the rubber mallet just shaping that. I put a series of cuts in the 90-degree fold so that when it did bend around, it didn't actually crimple the sides. I found that the rubber mallet was much better than the soft hammer, which is the orange thing you can see on the right hand of the screen there. It does take a while, but it comes out pretty good if you make sure that you keep hitting the same spots and moving evenly. And yeah, it didn't come up too rimply. And now that the curves are all done, all the incisions that I made in that folded down piece were so close. It was like, it would have been like trying to weld a damn hairbrush together. So I just chopped them all out and got a small fill-in piece, which I'm grinding now. Popped that in there and TIG welded it up, made sure it was a nice weld, and then that can be buffed back and no one will ever know. Shh. When that was welded, I just used a 80 grit sanding pad to get the excess weld just down to flat, and then later on I orbital sanded that real round. But now back to the roof sheet. I really should have preset this in the press with a series of smaller bends, but I was dumb and just went for it. So it's 1.6 mil steel. That's why I'm bending it with a massive hammer there, and it took a long time, and this is probably what I'm most disappointed about in the whole build, because I just should have spent a little bit more time on this bit because it did wrinkle up a little bit. But yeah, so I started off with the edge over the RHS, as you can see on the left of the screen, and then just worked my way forwards. And I worked out a system by the end of it. If I put that dolly underneath it and then hit it down real hard, it got pretty close to the shape. I just should have spent a bit more time working on the high spots and low spots. But anyway, that's how the roof skin worked, and in the end it was alright. Quick update. I haven't been recording much because I'm under the pump now, feeling a bit stupid. This is the Canopy. Went to lift it on the table before, and the bottom of the mast got caught on this weather strip just here while the top lifted, so it's belted it out square and all that. So I've got it clamped to the bench and putting in the mid wall now. To be honest, I'd like to redo it all over again. I'm a spatter on my camera. Dad's leaving in 2 days time, which sounds like heaps of time, but I've got to work those 2 days, so it's basically 8 hours for me, depending on how late I stay at night. So yeah, we're doing that, and yeah, hopefully you'll see this and it'll be all happy and yay time and it's all finished. So this is the home stretch before the main frame goes into the sandblaster. So I'm just doing a final buff with the same Milwaukee buffer. I think the best way to do it is to hold the disc as flat as you can, right on the edge, so that it only buffs what it needs to and it all buffs off in the one direction. If you do that on the top of the weld and the side of the weld, and then roughly go backwards and forwards to try and get a nice radius edge. So the last thing I had to do was put the door locks in. Basically, I just decided to put them 20 mil above the door frame so that it had enough clearance to open but also had enough purchase with the cam to actually keep locked on the door strip. Then just you need to decide where you want it in the door. I decided on 400 in from each edge, and then you can basically square a line, go half the width of the door lock either side of that line, and place the template that you get onto it, and then you can trace out the cutout that you need. And a little trick that I sort of use myself is I trace it and then cut on the outer line, because I've done plenty before where you cut the exact shape and the pressing tapers out, so you end up having to file it to get a good fit. And that was pretty much it until we powder coated. So yeah, just make sure it's all cut out nice, and probably use a thin cutting disc so if you make a mistake it's not too drastic. But if you do, the flange of the door lock will actually cover, well, can help cover it up anyway, so that's a plus. Alrighty, last day. Dad picked up the canopy in about 16 hours, so just got powder coating the actual canopy, which I'll show you that in a second. But while he does that, I'm just going to weld on these brackets for the gas struts to push on. So basically just got a piece of alloy flat bar. I was going to use angle, but I couldn't find any. Weld that down. I'm being cheap. Just got a bit of 20 mil tube stock, and just holding flat bar against it because I don't have time to measure. Weld that up, drill the holes, and by the time Reese has powder coated the bulk of the canopy, I'll have these sanded back and good to go. And yeah, tonight I'll put it all together at home, and it'll be good to pick it up. So yeah, hope you enjoy watching, hope it's good. Hope you've learned how not to make your canopy. I'm really disappointed in this one, but anyway, it is what it is, and let's do some welding. Alright, well that greeny bluey colour light just come on, which means it's done. So I'll give it a little bit and we'll pull it out. That's all it was. This will go straight in, I'll tell you. Watch this. That tiny bit. I decided to use two 300 Newton meter gas struts on either door. I did have 2 by 100 Newton meters, but they weren't strong enough and I picked them up accidentally. So you put the first mounting ball joint of the strut on the bottom frame first. That way you can attach the door, lift it to the desired height, and then just mark where the head of the gas strut will intercept the bracket. And that means that you're not hanging off things trying to get the right heights. So yeah, the bottom one first, which is what you see, and then the door, and then it's quite a bit of an easier way to set it up. These locks are just a generic one from the hardware store, and once they're in, it was basically just sealing up and minor touches. Oh, we're actually done, guys, so that's good. A little bit disappointing with the quality of some of the things. Having to shape the top with a hammer, it's come up with a few high spots and low spots, but anyway, Dad's just about to leave, or pack this thing up and leave on his holiday. So anyway, that's inside it. Nice crisp powder coating. It's a bit dirty from me sealing it up, but all the silicone is, like I've sealed it all up just with Sikaflex translucent stuff. This stuff here was a bit cheaper than the 11FC white, so but it's all waterproof anyway, but just to add a bit more quality and less vibration and just have everything sealed off, pretty good. So one of the struts was wrong, so Dad's gonna fix that on the way, but that's the wrap.